Hey guys, Marbane here, and the purpose of this video is to show you, or briefly, some of the stuff you might want to look out for if or you're getting contacted by these tech support scammers. Now, there are so many different variations on this game, so many different ways I can do it. It doesn't matter exactly which computer or type you're on, whether you're on an Apple or a Windows phone, Apple phone, or Android, Windows computer. Every single device can get hit with these pop-ups. And generally this is known as the Ammy scam, but any number of variations have popped up for this particular one. And this is a fairly well-known example, and I've seen this one personally. And let me go ahead and as you can see here, it says Windows critical error, blah blah blah. This is completely bogus. It is not real. You will not get a blue screen of death in your browser unless your browser itself is crashing. And then it's got its own variation of this. It will not actually look anything like this at all. Alright, and of course, do not call this number because it's going to connect you to some tech support scammer, usually in India, but we've seen them or over here in America, in place in Europe, Pakistan. Just don't give them a call unless you really want to waste these guys' time. And if you are going to waste the time of these guys, or if you do somehow think you might really have a virus, like you went to some adult website with some very bad pop-ups and you think you might really have a virus, contact real tech support first before you contact these guys. But if for some reason you do contact these guys, I'm going to show you some of the stuff that they're going to do to make you think you have a real problem when you really don't. And the first thing they're going to do is ask you what type of computer you have. And actually, they're probably going to assume you have whatever type of computer you have based on your pop-up. Don't give them more information than you absolutely have to. And do not give them any real information because they are absolutely crap. And play as dumb as you can. If you know something about computers, definitely don't tell them you know about computers. Make them think that you don't. And by the end of this video, hopefully you will know enough about computers, or that you can tell that they are completely razzle-dazzle you. And it'll usually start off with this kind of pop-up. So, we're going to go to the virtual machine now, which this is a virtualized computer. Or if you're tech savvy enough, you can use Oracle VM, which is a VirtualBox software. It creates a virtual machine, and you basically can make a virtual computer. So if they mess it up, you can just literally take a snapshot of it, roll it back to where it was before they messed it up, and be right back good to go again. This is kind of an advanced tool for a lot of folks, so I don't recommend using it unless you know exactly what you're doing. But it's also a good idea, like if there's some software you're not sure about, but you want to test it, or virtual machine's a good bet, because if the software doesn't work, you can just roll back and you're good to go like you never installed it. But that's a different video. This video is to show you some of the stuff that you're going to see. And first, or when they connect to your computer, they're going to have you probably go to a website in Internet Explorer, or use another tool called HTML help. And they'll probably do it through the ROM box, which I'll show you the ROM box here in a minute, as soon as I show you the Triple H command. And I apologize for my virtual machine being incredibly slow. I need to rebuild it. And as I said, I'll show you the ROM box here in a second, because that's exactly what they're going to tell you to do. And I'll show you how to get the ROM, or I'll tell you how to get the ROM box without actually, or having to type it in like I'm going to need to. But while that's loading, or they're going to tell you to go to a website, and of course that's going to be the example I'll show you here in a second, and they're going to tell you to download usually some sort of a remote support tool, or be it, or a team viewer, or Ammy, support.me, and there's a whole number of them, but the central theme to all of them is they want to get control of your computer. And these tools are powerful support tools that legitimate tech support can use. But for these guys, they're not using it for legitimate purposes. If they connect to your computer, you can record it, report them to whatever the service they're using. Now, this might be my computer's ID, but you will not be able to connect to it, so don't try, because this password will be changing before this video is posted. So this password you're seeing here is no good. At least not for my computer. and they will use something like this to connect to your computer. When they type in your partner ID, they'll click connect. They'll give you a pop-up saying, "Hey, or would you like X person to connect to your computer?" And most of the time, you'll have to click yes. TeamViewer is a little different, but other ones they have to ask for elevation so they can take control of your computer. If it gets that far, I do not recommend giving it to them. But if for some reason you do, they'll have you, or basically click on it, and they'll take complete control of your computer. And I'll show you some of the stuff they do. But this is one of the things that to get to the help they might have you go through, which is HTML help. And they'll tell you to click on the question mark and then jump to URL and usually type in like support.me or something. That's one of them. And most of the time they'll tell you to go to but hold the Windows key and then hold the R key, which will bring up something called the run box, which I will show you here in a second as soon as it loads. So my virtual machine is incredibly slow. I need to rebuild it and actually give it more virtual RAM so it's a little bit faster. If I was going to mess with tech support today, though, I'd feel perfectly comfortable doing this because this would waste scammers' time incredibly. So while it's loading, I'm going to pause the video until I get the run box up. Oh, no, never mind. There it goes. Yep, there it goes. And it should give a pop-up box here in a second. I'll show you what I was doing with that here in a second. Or as an example, if you really wanted to use some more advanced tools, which I'll explain here after the basics. And usually in this box, they'll tell you to type in the name of your browser. And since most Windows computers has some form of Internet Explorer, they'll tell you to type in iExplore. Or exactly like I already got typed here, because I've recorded this video 3 times so far to try to get it right, and none of them gone just right. And then when you press it, it launches the browser, and it will go directly to the website that you typed in afterwards, as you will see when it goes to support.me. And go ahead or minimize that since we don't need that anymore. And I'll go ahead and pause the video until it actually launches. Alrighty, and we're back. And as you can see, I went to the same website and they look exactly identical. It's just a question of how you got there. And this is where they would tell you to give you a 6-digit code for this particular support. Or they would download some software, they would walk you through running it, and they would proceed to take control of your computer through that. Since we're not actually going to give anyone control of this computer today, close these down so it's not taking up all the memory, and I can actually show you some of the stuff that they will try to razzle dazzle you with. I'm going to have to use my real computer for some of it because this one's running so incredibly slow. But one example is right here in the system configuration. They'll bring up this window until you go to services, and they're like, oh, look at all the stopped services. These are stopped because they've been deactivated by Microsoft. They'll give you a whole line of BS through I've seen various kinds, like your license is expired, your driver's is stopped due to hackers, or your license or your network security is expired. All sorts of bullcrap answers. Do not believe because this is perfectly normal. Or there'll be different things installed by different software, and not all of them are going to be running, and some of them are going to be running, and they're going to try and say, all right, oh, you don't need all these running, or you don't need all these stopped, we need to reinstall these, and it's a line of bullcrap. Don't believe it. And they may go through your services and tell you the exact same thing about some of these. Exact same type of stuff. Again, it's perfectly normal for a bunch of these to be stopped and a bunch to be running. There is nothing to worry about in this case. So, move these out of the way because now that you know what to look for there, because all that looks perfectly normal. And I had to go to my real computer to show you one other thing called the event viewer. Now, this is where a lot of stuff gets logged, and chances are that real tech support will use these logs to identify issues, But they're not just going to look at the whole event viewer. They're going to be looking for certain things within the event viewer. The tech support scammers are going to make you think that there's a problem there when there's really not. And well, while it's loading its logs, we're going to move it over here so we keep an eye on it. We're going to go back to the virtual machine, and one of the other things that they'll bring up is a command prompt. Usually by having you type in CMD or doing it after they've connected to your computer. It'll come up with this box. It'll look very similar on your computer with a little bit different stuff. And ignore this because that was something I tried to do earlier that didn't work out quite right. But they'll run various commands and try to get you to see certain things that aren't really there. So my favorite so far is the tree command, which it literally is just typing in the word tree. Well, let's go give you a real example. They'll change directories going back to the main hard drive at the highest level so that you can see the most. And they'll type in a command. It's called tree or dir or something that's going to make it, and they're going to call it a scan. It's really not a scan. It's just listing out the files and folders on your computer. And it will come up with a lot of stuff, or as soon as it starts running. Well, you'll still be able to see everything that's going on over here. Oh, there it goes. And while this is running, they're going to type in something like viruses found or network corrupt. And I'm going to type in one of those fake messages right now so you can see it. Now when it gets to the end of the run, the fake message I typed in will be there. And I'll show you what that fake message is, because the scammers will usually use some variant of it in some form or fashion. And they'll also change the color of the command prompt, which I'll show you how they do. And it's hilarious that they're actually using these tactics. Now, while it's running, it's going to take that a minute to finish. We're going to go over here and actually look at the events. Well, for example, we're going to go ahead and look at the system log, and this may take a second to load as well. I'm hoping it doesn't. But you see it's got warnings, information, error, and it's just a lot of stuff here. And they're going to try to tell you that seeing these errors and stuff is too many or it's a bad thing. Truth is, or is perfectly normal to see or errors or information warnings. Like, for example, that's perfectly normal to see. They'll try to tell you it's not normal, there's too many and all that stuff. It's perfectly normal. You're going to see a lot of this stuff, and a lot of this stuff will have absolutely no meaning to you unless you have tech support looking at these. And when they look at them, they are going to be looking at very specific ones to try to figure out there's a problem with, say, or Microsoft Outlook or Microsoft Excel. They're not going to be looking at it as general, say, oh, or you got a virus. That's not how the event viewer works. And back to this one where tree command is still running. And I'm going to pause it until the tree finishes running because it could be a while. So we'll be back as soon as it finishes. Alright, and we're back. I went ahead and preempted the command early, but that is exactly what I typed in, and they'll type it in just like that. And it'll be some sort of, like, a virus is detected, corruption at whatever percentage, error, network security disabled, firewall disabled, and all. It's a bunch of hocus pocus crap. Another one of the commands they'll use is netstat, which is the one you saw earlier, but it's not going to show you a whole lot. So I will go to my real computer and show you what it might look like from their computer. Netstat. Now, my favorite about this command is they will try to tell you, like, oh, you have hackers in your computer, blah, 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 and truth is, that is bullcrap. Now, this is the local address for your computer. That is true. But the foreign address is not what they're going to say it is. That is not people connected to your computer. That is just an address or data is being sent to and from. It could be as simple as Google, or it could be a video you're watching on YouTube. But chances are it'll tell you. And for example, this IP address is not your computer's IP. That is a loopback address that every computer has, and this might be the IP that your router's assigned to your computer. That is not to your entire network like the scammer will try to make you think. And of course, different information, and that's kind of what leads or into or what the advanced tool has, which I'll explain here in a minute again. And they'll try to tell you that you got all sorts of issues, and you can see that aside from being slow, there is nothing wrong with this virtual machine. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It is literally brand new, just got stood up. And don't mind some of the junk files here. That's just to razzle dazzle them with. And with all that information, you know some of the stuff that the scammers are going to 9 times out of 10 use to make you think there's a problem when there's really not. So, what happens when you know they're scamming you and you really want to mess with them hardcore? Now, this is for advanced users. I don't recommend this for anyone who is a basic user. You can actually record their IP address. And how you do that is using this tool called Wireshark. And using Wireshark, you select your virtual machine's connection, and you can see where information is being sent from and what the destination is. Now, this will be your route. The destination you're looking for is, or in this case, is their IP. It's going to be a little tricky to narrow down, but you can kind of narrow it down if you know exactly what to look for, like what websites are being visited and all that stuff. And of course, timestamps definitely help. You just got to know how to read the timestamps, which is something you learn from experience. And generally, the longer the timestamp, the longer it's been on, and the newer it is. So, and I got an example of it using the Whois query. And this one was for something out in Los Angeles, and the only thing I done was go to support.me, so that's the only possible website it could be that I visited, or from this virtual machine. And it gives you all sorts of information, address, country, city. Now, granted, this isn't pinpoint accurate, but this information can really help you unnerve the scammers and help you report them to their local authorities for violation of law. Because fraud is illegal, no matter where you go in the world. So, if you can waste these scammers' time and you feel comfortable doing it, do so. If not, perfectly okay. I totally get it. It's not for everyone, but don't let them scam you. I hope this helps some of you guys. And if you got any questions, comments, let me know. I will gladly answer them. You guys have a fantastic night, and I hope to talk to some of you guys soon.